Have you ever been scammed while buying land?
Fortunately, no. I think we came quite close to it on a number of occasions.
There'll be 100 people talking about 100 locations that are going to boom. How do you select like the top 15 from those?
Largest understanding we try to get is around the state government and their intent. So I think if the intent of the Honorable Chief Minister in any state is very, very focused on economic and social development, that is the most important thing for us. So that way, if you look at both Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, right from the top, the intent towards development is extremely high. The intent to make the entire state pro-development is extremely high. And one thing was quite clear is that if you come to Uttar Pradesh, you will never have a problem as long as you work within the ambit of the law. You may have any vision in your mind, having seen in Hindi movies, ki there will not be rule of law or there will be things like that, but he sort of was very, very clear about it. And I can tell you, our experience in Uttar Pradesh has been phenomenal.
I remember you had told me that you are a tech company, rather a deep tech company that also does real estate. And then next week, I found out that you all have sold, I think, 1,419 apartments, all through agentic AI, through automated systems, lesser human intervention. How did you all do it? Hi. So I totally love what you've done with the entire land business, right? I mean, real estate is anyways opaque in India, and I think land is even more opaque than that, right? And I think what you guys have done in the last 5 years is kind of fascinating, right? Bringing into you've got transparency and tech into real estate, and not just namesake tech, right? You actually got tech in real estate in a very efficient manner, right? And we'll obviously talk more about that. But the idea of today's masterclass is I want the viewer to be able to understand how to select certain locations in a very unbiased way, what all to look for in a piece of land, and how to select the right builder and the right asset class for them, right? Now, speaking of which, people have multiple investment options today, from equity, debt, gold, alternative investments like AIFs, hedge funds, even crypto for that matter, real estate, and of course within real estate, land. Do you think land should be part of everyone's portfolio?
Undoubtedly. I don't think there's a question around that in my mind, Mayank. If you look at India for the last 75 years, land in any semi-urban area which went urban has given a compound return in excess of 25%. That's probably higher than any other asset class. And this I'm saying on a standard basis. Right? What happened is land moved away from the psyche of investment because of what was the opaqueness around land. I think that is now reasonably solved for. The sector is becoming far more organized. Whether you allocate 5% or 50% depends on your personal comfort. But the return you will make by having land on your portfolio is far more than the return you will make by not having land in your portfolio.
And you said over 10 years, right? So you have to wait. It's not a short-term play?
It should not be a short-term play to start off with. I think the last 4 years have been quite phenomenal. We've been in business since 2021. What we've seen over the last 5 years is, last 4.5, 5 years is 25-30% compounded return on land across each location we've operated in is par for the course. We don't think that is expected in the future. Our general belief to everybody who buys with us is buy with 10-year money, and land gives the best return in a 10 to 20-year period. If you hold land for 20 years, historical evidence will show that you'll make more than 20% compounding. So, if you're going to get the power of compounding, why give it away? You're going to take money from an asset class and put it back in the same asset class, have a transaction cost attached to it. Rather, you invest and wait it out, and the return you'll make will be quite phenomenal.
Now, you bet very big on spiritual areas, for land. You're deeply invested in Ayodhya, Varanasi, Vrindavan. Do you think that religious sites and spiritual tourism, or rather real estate related to spiritual tourism, will be the next gold mine for investors? And is that something that's being overlooked?
So my view is more than spiritual, these are cultural centers. And the way to look at it is these centers are becoming more and more important because people are visiting. Right. And because people are visiting, these centers are becoming also better on the infra side. Our call everywhere is to build real estate where the state and the central government is building infrastructure together. The economic growth is ahead of the national average. And if you look at Ayodhya ji or Vrindavan or Varanasi, Amritsar, Puri, etc., all of these locations, the kind of influx of tourism happening there now means a place like Ayodhya, which was a small town in 2020, is now expected to contribute more than 1.5% of UP's GDP by 2027-28. So these places are changing. They are going to keep changing, and when places like this change with smaller land mass, the number of sellers also go down, land becomes more valuable, people are economically doing better, so they want to stay in the same place where the economic returns are coming. It's a very, very virtuous cycle.
Right. So, like ballpark, for example, let's talk about Ayodhya, right? How many people approximately do visit Ayodhya in the year?
My understanding, my numbers may be a bit off, is I think this year 45 crore people are going to be visiting Ayodhya ji.
That is almost a third of the country's population, right?
That is almost the population of the entire US.
My God.
And that is far more than the combined number of visitors to probably a Vatican plus Mecca, Medina put together.
And so all these tourists, they keep coming, like I'm sure people keep visiting once in 3 years, 4 years. So do you see tourists becoming residents and buying, real estate there eventually?
So my sensing is what happens is, for example, if you look at Vrindavan, what has happened there, right? So people visit quite regularly. They come back once in every 2, 3, 4 years, first one generation, then 2 generations, then multi-generations. And eventually at a certain age, a section of the people actually want to go back and stay there. And once you turn 60, 65, whatever is the age you feel appropriate, because the environment there is commercial in certain parts, but very, very spiritual or cultural in certain parts. And it appeals a lot to the upbringing in the Indian to be a part of a cultural center. So I think today people who are buying in these places are buying for the economic upside plus the emotional value or the emotions attached to that place. Eventually, a lot of people are actually going to go back and become a part of these places. What you must also see, Mayank, is that the amount of real estate under supply there is very, very small. If you look at all of Ayodhya ji put together, we are probably the only planned township of over 50 acres. So if you look at what is going to have 45 crore people visiting it and going up every year, and you probably got less than 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 plots or homes available for sale in a 3, 4, 5 year period, then you just do the maths. That's probably one township somewhere in Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore. That's the size of the entire organized real estate market in Ayodhya ji at this point of time.
So very, very limited.
Yeah, very, very limited. All these places are limited by supply.
Right. And with that massive, massive demand and, interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the past. In the last 4 years, how much have land prices gone up in these areas? Let's talk about Ayodhya and let's talk about Vrindavan.
Ayodhya ji, probably the land prices have gone up phenomenally faster. So I think over the last 3 or 4 years, the land price there must have at least tripled. Vrindavan would have gone up by 2.5x. But this is in my mind the start of the change. What you will now see is land which was being sold in acres at this point of time, in 4 or 5 years will be sold in square feet. And when acres turn to square feet, that's where real estate booms actually take place. So what you will, for example, now see in Vrindavan is, till probably 5 years ago, you would think of people buying farmland. After 3 years ago, it became people buying land for bungalows. Now people are effectively saying the land I bought for the bungalow, I'm going to sell for building a building 2 years from now. And that change in pricing is what we've seen. If you go back to Thane, or you go back to any of the places in India where, Sarjapur Road or Sona Road, etc. What happened is the moment those areas became urban and the FSI norms changed and the usage changed, I've seen land in Thane at 2 crore rupees per acre. Today the same land in 20 years is worth 200 crore rupees per acre.
Interesting. Now, your portfolio in the land is divided into 2 zones, I would call them, right? One are holiday homes, where I'm talking about like places like Goa, Alibag, Neral, like holiday destinations, right? Versus cultural centers, like you call them, Ayodhya, Vrindavan. If you had to choose one segment, all right, which segment do you see more growth happening in?
No, my underlying theme actually is while it's coming out as tourism and culture, our underlying theme is infrastructure. Okay. So we are also present in Nagpur. We are also present in Konkan. Our general play, like I said, Mayank, is the fact where state and central government are building infrastructure together, is where HOABL is going to be. So we identified 48 locations across the country. I think we already have land in close to 21 or 22 of them, maybe slightly more, and we'll be looking to expand to all the 48 locations. If I have to make a pure comparison, I would definitely feel the cultural centers today economically will outperform the pure tourism places. But that's not the way we look at it.
48 locations now, real estate is so hyper local. People struggle in two cities or maybe even different pin codes, right? As the ward changes, how do you manage this? Is it like all delegation, regional tie-ups, or?
So we don't have too many regional tie-ups. I think we work very, very closely with our own organization. So I think we have got fairly competent teams, and we sort of execute individually on the ground. And what we fortunately seen is that most governments have been very welcoming. Be it the UP government, be it any other government, people have been very, I think once they've understood the concept of what we are trying to create, the fact that we are trying to democratize land, I think it's an essential part of the theory of growing India in itself. So I think with a general environment which is conducive to real estate business, it's not possible to move to multiple locations.
I was talking to your team, and I'd just like to point it out. They had said something very interesting to me, and it was very sticky at that point, still stuck in my head. They said this is going to be the next SEZ, and when I say SEZ, not special economic zone, spiritual economic zone, and that's when you start thinking of it like a cultural center and almost like a CBD of sorts, because so many people come in. The gravitational pull of a spiritual center is actually, I think, gives a lot of, creates a lot of business opportunities and increases the finances of everyone, I think. So I think that is something that's very interesting. It's a very interesting outlook. Now, how does a layman, right, a corporate salaried layman invest in land? There's so many things to watch out for. What all should you look into a land?
So firstly, I think if you're trying to buy land on your own, it's a reasonably arduous task. Because when HOABL started, what we really thought is, what is keeping the Indian away from buying land? So land and gold are very, very natural to us Indians, right? So that zamindar concept which is there is basically the big guy in the village is the zamindar, the guy who owns the land. And all of us have seen the multiplication value of land as well. But what had happened is title, possession, approvals, and liquidity. These four had become such a bane that a person sitting in Mumbai, maybe he's very clear that the next boom is going to come in, say, Nagpur, but he's thinking for a 50 lakh rupee investment, how do I appoint a lawyer? How do I keep somebody to keep care of my possession? How do I get approvals, and who's going to handle the local issues? So individually, these four problems still persist. The right way to buy land, in my perspective, is go with an organized player, buy it with a 20-year period, make sure you have clear understanding of the title of the land. The title being clear is extremely important, and be part of a gated community. If you do all four and hold it for 10 to 20 years, it will be the best investment decision you ever make.
Just curious, have you ever been scammed while buying land?
Fortunately, no. I think we came quite close to it on a number of occasions. But because we have a very detailed approach to buying, eventually what's happening, Mayank, is we believe we are in the business of getting people to trust the concept of buying land. So our own internal processes are far more arduous than they would normally be. And hence, eventually we are in a position to be able to safeguard ourselves and our buyer, because our buyer is going to look at us for a title even 20 years after he buys it.
Absolutely. Now, you had spoken of 48 locations, right? You look at infrastructure, you look at, of course, the fundamentals of a location. But many times in India, infrastructure is often delayed, right? And for various unforeseen reasons, right? Getting right of way being the biggest one. How do you cut the noise out? Like, how do you, for example, there'll be 100 people talking about 100 locations that are going to boom. How do you select like the top 15 from those? Like, how do you?
So firstly, the largest understanding we try to get is around the state government and their intent. So that way, if you look at both Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, right from the top, the intent towards development is extremely high. The intent to make the entire state pro-development is extremely high. So I think if the intent of the Honorable Chief Minister in any state is very, very focused on economic and social development, that is the most important thing for us. And once that intent is streamlined and the central government funds have already been classified to be released for this, which is all in public domain now, then you're very, very clear now that India is actually executing extremely well. If you look at what's happened to South Bombay with the coastal road, right? You look at what's happened to the Banaras with the change there, or the Bake Bihari corridor which is now getting built, you are very, very clear that these projects are not being announced for announcement's sake. They have real traction on the ground, they make a difference to the people on the ground, and they are going to get executed. So I think once you get that understanding of the intent of the state government to execute, that's the play you're actually taking.
Now, what would be your top 4 locations as per you? So you're an end buyer, so something that will help our end viewer today, right? And India being so diverse, I want one in each part of India, like north, south, east, west. If you could just kind of space them out.
I would definitely say in Uttar Pradesh, I would go for Ayodhya or Vrindavan. That's sort of our number 1 destination. In Goa is a great place to be. Right. In Maharashtra, the Konkan belt is a fantastic place to be. If you go towards Punjab side, there is Amritsar, there is Ludhiana. Great real estate markets have to see a lot more traction. Right. If you move towards the south, I would say Kerala is a largely unexplored area. So between these 4, I think it's quite phenomenal. If you're able to take positions in these places, it's going to be quite very, very rewarding. And I would also add Nagpur on top of all of this. I think Nagpur is going to be a place to significantly watch out for in terms of where the pricing is today in that market, is potential upside, the kind of infra getting built, and the kind of will to get it done. I think Nagpur is exceptional on all parameters.
And also the governance there, like the
governance in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, I think it's probably the best in the country.
So, can I assume that Maharashtra and UP have pretty much streamlined approval processes as opposed to other states?
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, in fact, for Maharashtra, the kind of digitization which has taken place in the land records, that is also quite phenomenal. Uttar Pradesh that way is endowed with the fact that there's naturally having so many spiritual, cultural destinations, that the infrastructure getting built there along with the central government pushes, I think, is also quite phenomenal.
Right. And what states do you think are a little slower in general?
So there are states that we've not been a part of. So it will not be fair on my part to say whether it's slow or not. For example, we've not done anything in the east part of India. Right. So maybe this the great places to be, but we haven't really seen the kind of infrastructure boom that we want to see there before we go.
Now you were talking about challenges when it comes to land acquisition, right? In Ayodhya, right, it took you all 3 years and 1,400 farmers, right? You all aggregated land from 1,400 farmers over a period of 3 years. Can you walk us through the various nitty-gritties, nuances and challenges while aggregating such a piece like that?
So I'll sort of give you a background as to why we went to Ayodhya ji. So, my grandfather was very closely associated with Ayodhya ji since when I was a child. So I had a huge impact on me early on. And one thing was quite clear is that if you come to Uttar Pradesh, you will never have a problem as long as you work within the ambit of the law. So don't have any, you may have any vision in your mind, having seen in Hindi movies ki there'll not be rule of law or there will be things like that. And he sort of was very, very clear about it. And I can tell you, our experience in Uttar Pradesh has been phenomenal. We are probably having one of the largest developments in UP across locations today. We have not encountered any problem whatsoever with the local people or the bureaucracy. Wow. As far as land acquisition goes there, I think we got a team on the ground. We identified the location. We started working there. We started by buying less than 1/10 of an acre in the first 3 months put together. Right. But we are very, very clear we'll stay on the ground. Once people see us there regularly, when people believe we are there for good, and people understand that the intent is to create value locally, along with participation for the locals, they will allow us to buy. It was really tedious. There are many, many times where we were a bit unsure as to whether this will actually finalize in the way we are envisaging it or not. But fortunately, because we are a team on the ground, and more importantly, because we saw the execution happening in Ayodhya ji, the scale at which the state government was working, and the local support that we got, we were able to stick for 3 years and buy the land. Today, it would be impossible to replicate that.
1,400 farmers that's huge. It's like entire SRA project or something.
And these people didn't only sell it to us once. So our project itself is in 4 phases. So they were out of the 1,400 farmers, there are probably 40-50% of the farmers who sold the phase 2 and phase 3 to us as well. Once you build the rapport with them, once you build the relationship with them, then they are wanting to become a part of the ecosystem. And what we also saw in UP is that the farmer once he sells his land, he takes the money, but he relocates in the same city. So the farmer who's selling land in Ayodhya is taking the entire money and 90% of it he's reinvesting in the land slightly far away from where he's already sold it to.
Oh, so they have financial discipline as well.
Extreme financial discipline. We actually tried to run for some time a class there to tell people as to how they should, get, because these are reasonably large amounts of money. For example, if a farmer sold, say 1/4 of an acre, he would get 50 lakhs to a crore or maybe more. I don't know the numbers right now. So that was large amount of money, but what we realized is they don't need those class. They are so disciplined in their approach that they were very, very clear कि हम इसमें से कोई पैसा गाड़ी में, मोटरसाइकिल में, इसमें उसमें खर्चा नहीं करने वाले हैं. This is money which belongs to our next generation. We are taking it, we are redeploying it in land, we will farm on that land or we may lease out that land, and 10 years from now when this city moves from here to here, we'll replicate the same story. हमारी life जैसी चल रही है वैसे ही चलेगी. I'll still, even if I've sold you 2 acres of land and gotten say 5 crore rupees, I will still live the way the farmer lived when I was earning say 1 lakh rupee a month.
That's good to know, financial discipline, because a lot of times in this belt I've seen farmers just go buy cars and unfortunately kind of blow the money they've made.
Yeah, I think that's changing now as well. Right. I think I think it's also the sort of responsibility of the developer partner to ensure they're able to help people think through the right investment methodology, the right savings methodology. This is, probably a large part of their asset base. If that money is getting invested in the right place, it can multiply. If it's not, it can not do very well.
Right.
And if somebody's buying land, we are all for it.
Yeah, true. The last time we had met for breakfast at St. Regis, I remember you had told me that you are a tech company, rather a deep tech company that also does real estate. And I was very intrigued by that statement. And then next week, I found out that you all have sold around 1,400, 1,000, I think 1,419 apartments, right, in Naigaon, all through agentic AI, through automated systems, lesser human intervention. How did you all do it? Like, I just want to know better.
So, Mayank, our general belief is real estate is always very, very ripe for disruption. And if you look at what we are doing, along with House of Abhinandan Lodha, we also run an interior design business called Bonito Designs.
Yeah.
That's the largest full home interior design business in the country today. There, we now developed technology where effectively a 10 to 20 lakh rupee house is getting designed by somebody as marquee as Gauri Khan. And she's individually doing it using technology. So technology is essentially the fulcrum for all our businesses. When it comes to real estate, our whole idea was a lot of issues in real estate come because there is opaqueness. If you take it away, actually the largest transaction value a customer does in his lifetime.
Yeah.
And if you enable it with technology, if you look at affordable housing, what are the issues, right? The issues, everybody talks about lack of margins. And if you end up spending, say, 20 crore rupees on a sample flat and site office, and then 30-40 crore rupees you end up spending on large site teams, and then you end up spending probably 120 crore rupees because you do construction in phases, costs go up, things keep changing. You spend 200 to 250 crore rupees, which you can absolutely avoid wasting. That's almost 20-25% of your, maybe more of your margin. That's 10% of your top line. And if you add all of this back, then you can continue to do affordable housing homes profitably. That's exactly what we did. We said no site office, no sample flat. In fact, the entire launch was done without any human intervention. We built an agentic AI called Priya. All customers spoke to Priya. We had more than 45,000 recorded conversations. The first 5,000 were obviously very, very bad because Priya needed to learn. The last 10,000 were probably as good as it is, 95% of what it can be with any human being. And today, the next launch also we are going to do using the same base. We now have those 45,000 recorded customer conversations. We are learning far more about each consumer. We are able to apply it far more meaningfully. Now we can in fact have tied up with the home loan companies that we can get sanction letters done again online. So the entire chain, if you decide to use technology in the right way, and you're not really doing anything out of the ordinary, you're just using common sense and putting things together in a manner and then taking a call that people will support you. And that way I can tell you the Mumbai real estate consumer or the Indian real estate consumer is probably the best real estate consumer in the world.
Why is that?
They support all and any innovation. They are effectively financing all the developer developments, right? And they're asking in return is, please make sure what you as a developer is committing to me is that to deliver. They're not litigative by nature. They don't want to fight. They just want to make sure you give them their home as promised by you in the time promised by you. If you look at most of the developments today, 60 to 70% of the developments cost is funded through proceeds by the buyer. You look anywhere else in the world, you look at the UK, right? You put up 20-25% of the money as a buyer, the remaining 80% you only play when the asset is getting delivered. Which means a developer, you need to achieve the entire financial closure before you take on a development.
And that must be destroying the cash flows?
It's just the market is so different there now, right? You cannot build what India needs by being like that. You can only build what India needs by getting the buyer and the developer and the government to become part of the same ecosystem. And I'm telling you, Mayank, the Indian real estate consumer is the best real estate consumer in the world.
Interesting. Yeah, AI agents selling 1,400 apartments is unheard of.
And this is probably a class 30 to 50 lakh rupee ticket size houses. So it's probably the first buying for most of the people. And they've taken that call that no, if it's the house of Abhinandan Lodha and they're saying they're going to do this and they're going to work with us online, we'll take the faith, we'll take the leap of faith to do it. I don't think you could do this anywhere else in the world.
I'm still really intrigued, and especially in the affordable housing sector, right, where people, they're so scared because of lack of information or XYZ reasons. Wouldn't they want to come and physically see the site? You never got that negative or an objection like that from the client?
See, the right way to look at it is, not everybody was comfortable with what we were doing, but you're not expecting everybody to buy with you. But there was a very, very large audience. For the 1,400 apartments that we had, we got 8,800 applications. It's a very large audience which is saying, if you're working in this way, which eventually means you're delivering a higher quality product to me at the same cost as any other developer delivering a lesser quality product to me at this cost, I'm happy to take that leap of faith. Eventually, I'm anyways relying on you that आप sample flat तो दिखा दोगे, but I'm anyways taking the call कि 5 साल बाद भी आपने जो sample flat में दिखाया वैसा बना के देने वाले हो. So I'm anyways, the developer, the buyer is anyways taking a leap of faith on you. He's just saying, can I cut out the paraphernalia and actually participate with you?
Interesting. So that means the very progressive buyer as well.
Extremely
Absolutely. Progressive buyer.
Yeah. I think they are very, very clear on the value calls which they are taking, and they are very happy to stick by those value calls. And I'll also even the entire channel partner community. I think they were very, very open with us. They were very happy to participate. It's a new concept for them as well. But I think then they took over the fact that actually means that they are able to save on manpower time, because now you don't need to accompany the buyer to the site physically for a site visit. You don't need to be worried about whether he's tagged to your name or not. The entire process is online. You get your OTP, the consumer is tagged to you as a channel partner. Right. The consumer is now participating online, so you can join from anywhere. If you want to be a part of the call, you can join from your office. You can have 5 calls happening simultaneously. So instead of one person delivering one site visit and one deal in a day, the same person can effectively now do 10 deals in a day, and you're far more focused on sourcing than all this.
Yeah. So very system driven, extreme. And same thing in your plotted development as well, right? No physical site visits for the land, and we've just seen massive sales numbers just without a physical
when our average ticket size when we started was 10 lakh rupees per unit. Our average ticket size in last year was 97 lakh rupees per unit. So in 4 years, we've moved across all sectors and so many locations. I don't think I'm reasonably sure we have never ever met a consumer in person before he's bought. We have never met a consumer in person for delivery.
It's almost like, we have preconceived notions about the end consumer that are absolutely wrong.
Absolutely.
The consumers are progressive. They just want a funnel.
As long as they're seeing the value, they are willing to support.
Like the customer didn't know an iPhone existed before it came.
Yes.
So you have to give it to the people. Very interesting take. Now, what should a buyer what particular clause should a buyer look in an agreement for sale?
I think one thing is very, very clear is if there's a delay, what happens is a very, very important part. And the understanding that the agreement for sale, the title is coming from a kosher law firm, and all necessary approvals are in place. I think beyond that, RERA now provides for most of the things a buyer should take care of. Right. So if you're taking care of the fact that you have a RERA registration number, your title is clear and your approvals are in place, as a buyer you're reasonably okay.
And I'll use the liberty to use this word shady, any shady clauses that have been put by developers in the past which may come across as normal but would have a severe impact on the buyers?
I think, there's a lot of them, but that's all in the past. I think the RERA model agreement now, it takes care of all.
The model agreement.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, can you walk us through the economics of a plotted development, right? In a very transparent manner, right? From the land acquisition cost in general, right? Land acquisition, approvals, obviously the net area that you get, if you develop the roads, and the development cost as well, marketing and sales cost, and then the margins that a developer can make in a plotted development. If you could just walk us through.
It will depend on location to location, but thumb rule I tell you is that the efficiency in most plotted developments is around 45 to 50%.
Right.
At least for what we do, because we try to do a lot more in the common areas and we try to do a lot more on the development. Right. Our general belief is this, that eventually there will be multiple plotted developments in almost all locations, right? So for example, if you look at say a Nagpur, right, there will probably be 20 or 30 or 40 developments between 80 and 100 acres each, which will all do what is called plotted sales. Out of those developments, in 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, the development with the best quality infrastructure internally built is going to be development where people are actually going to move to live. So people are going to move to these places to live. And it's the highest resale value will also be on the development which are architecturally unique, executed very, very well, and are actually executed with the perspective that eventually people will come and live here and not just as an investment. So our idea is that the end consumer who buys with us should see a phenomenal appreciation on his investment, which means that we invest a lot more on the development of the common areas, and we do a lot more in the common areas as well. So 45 to 50% the efficiency which we believe we can achieve. Your normal CAC, all put together including a distribution cost, will be in the range of 7 to 9%. Okay. That is what it would be. It's more for us maybe because we are also very, very focused on the digitization part. Your cost of land will be roughly 25 to 30% of your overall cost. Right. Your cost of construction will be 25 to 30% of your overall cost. Right. And you should end up making net margins in the range of 25 to 30% if you're sold out on everything.
If you're sold out. Because that little inventory overhang.
So if you have say 15% of your inventory left with you, that's your entire profit.
That's your margin.
So then there is no margin.
Right.
So you have to also be very, very focused on being able to understand that the end goal is to make sure you're fully sold out, and then the resale value of your developments is reasonably high because they are very, very livable.
Right. And can you increase that, like you said, 25% to maybe a 35, 40% with efficient tech in place? Like you said, no visits, agentic AI. Do you see that? Obviously, that will improve in the future as well. Tech is going to get better with time. So do you think developers can leverage tech to increase
Absolutely. And we are doing something today which we think is very, very good. Probably 3 years later, somebody else will come and show us they can do it much better than us, and we'll learn. Right. So there's always going to be scope for more efficiency.
Right. Now, you also do joint JVs and JDs, right? It's almost like matchmaking, like sort of because you have to be comfortable with the landlord as well, with the landowner as well, right? So, how do you identify that? Is it only a gut feeling, that entrepreneur's gut feeling, or obviously it has to make financial sense also. I'm sure you go through the entire financial feasibility statements and everything, but what is that secret to kind of...
Generally, we avoid JVs and JDs.
Right.
Most of the land we bought is we buy out the land.
Right.
We probably have in our entire portfolio less than 2 JVs.
Okay.
And this will probably be with people who we know personally. Because real estate is a business which can have many, many views. And we are very, very clear that when we are a developer, there's a certain way in which we do our business, right? So we are very, very selective about doing JVs and JDs. Right. We normally like to buy out the land.
Okay. So full control, and you can just rather full creativity freedom.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. Right. And everybody's alignment is singular there.
Right. Now you're developing vertical as well. start with horizontal, now affordable and vertical as well. Can you tell us the difference in mindset and execution while doing a plotted development and a vertical high rise?
So when you look at a plotted development, you're largely focused on ensuring the quality of the development is, well ahead of what else is seen there. And you're also very, very focused that the execution timeline has to deliver in 24 months.
Right.
So everything which you do is get up to delivering from start to end between 18 to 24 months. You can't go beyond that cycle of delivery. And you're also looking at it as almost an inventory business, as a, basically you have to keep moving it like a factory. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, all your profit is probably in the last 15% of your inventory. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep churning. And it's a very high involvement business. If you look at when you're doing, say, a luxury tower somewhere else, there you almost look at it as being an asset business. Mm-hmm. And you're far more focused on the individuals there who are participating, their lifestyle statements, what they are trying to do, the location you are buying in, and probably delivery cycle there is anywhere between 4 to 5 years. Right. Much longer delivery cycle, much lower number of consumers, much higher involvement, and mindset of an asset owner versus mindset of a, running it like a factory, very, very focused on timely execution and development, making sure value is created for the resale buyer eventually, and also ensuring your delivery cycles are within the 24-month period.
So like you said, 24 months, right? Delivery cycle.
18 to 24 months,
right?
Yes.
So let's say the overall TAT is 18 to 24 months. Now say some plots, would you rather have a faster sales velocity and execute everything in 24 months, or maybe dollar cost average your plots, like, because obviously the land prices are also increasing. Would you rather sell everything out in 18 months or sell things in a slower fashion over, say, 36 or 48 months, but get a higher price on the dollar cost average?
No, which I said, we are focused like a factory. Our idea is that we will do more and more assets in the same location as the locations start developing. As for example, to give you an example of the Konkan belt, we did one development there in 2021. We are doing a 5th development there now. So, and that entire area's pricing has changed. Our developments have gotten delivered. People are building places there to stay. Places are getting leased out. Infrastructure has gotten built. Now the RORO is starting from Mumbai to Konkan. The Bombay Goa highway is going to be starting soon. Right. So our general belief is by the time we are delivering, we like to finish our sales cycle as well.
Right. Now, if you see a lot of, from a holistic point of view, right, overarchingly, NA plotted developments, I've seen so many where plots ban gaye, but nobody has ever constructed a villa on them, right? And it's been lying like that for 8 years or 5 years, right? And there is a clubhouse built, right? It's a very mediocre clubhouse, but why would someone use that clubhouse if there is no bungalow? Like, why would you drive 2 hours? Yeah. How do you kind of balance that? Because you're giving a lot of amenities. Is there a fear that if people don't construct villas, that clubhouse will be like a ghost town?
So 2 things, Mike. I think we are very focused on hospitality. In fact, we don't do a clubhouse, we do a mini hotel everywhere, which basically means you've got all the common areas and then you have 8 to 10 rooms in every development, which you can lease out like a hotel owner. Our hotels are, our head of hospitality is ex-Soneva Fushi, ex-Oberoi. And he was the director of operations, CEO of operations at Soneva Fushi. So our entire approach is when the people are coming there, our belief is 30 to 35% will build in the short term, which is a 0 to 3 years. 30 to 35% will hold, 15 to 20% will resell in the first 5 years, and remaining will decide as they go along. But we want to create the experience for people to come and actually be there and understand why they should build. What happens, I think, as developers, is our responsibility to make sure people understand there's a reason to build. The land appreciation is going to take place regardless of whether you build or not. Right. But it's the hospitality and the experience is going to enable people to build. I'll sort of invite you that one day you should visit one of our mini hotels, either in Goa or Neral or Konkan, to understand what I really mean by this. Yeah. In fact, one of our mini hotels, for example, the Miros at Goa, is probably 9.9 on 10 rating on almost all the travel websites. And that's where most of our consumers, they come, they actually stay at the Miros, and while they are staying at the Miros, they start imagining what their life can be. And for example, in the place which I'm referring to now, 30% of the plots are already under construction. So as a developer, you have to enable it.
So basically, I would say it's like a service business for you almost, right? That hospitality service, not just product, keep project becho and then you're out.
No, we are there. So we also take care of all the common areas.
Right.
And we are very, very committed to making sure the value of the development continues to go up, which means maintenance has to be extremely good, build has to happen, people have to come and experience.
So you've converted investors into end users as well?
Yes, we've converted investors into end users. We've converted investors into experiential end users because they've gone through a Miros hotel on the site, and they are also doing the economic calculation, and they are saying I can actually make 9-10% yield by owning the asset. I can come and stay here 20 days in a year. I'll be taken care of by the Miros hospitality team, so I don't need to worry about anything. And the remaining time, this asset will get leased out at least 40-50% of the time.
Right.
So I make a great return. I continue to own the underlying land, which is going to appreciate over time.
Absolutely.
And I'm able to also experience the benefit of being a landowner at the house of Abhinandan Lodha.
Right. Now, if someone, you spoke of leasing, right? If someone were to lease the villa, right? What's the rough ballpark rental income they can make?
I think over a 7 to 8 year period, you will make more double-digit returns, averaged out. You'll probably start lower. You'll probably start at 5.5 to 6%.
Right.
And lower occupancy of say 35-40%, which leads to 5.5-6%.
Right.
As things change, as locations become more accepted, as the place becomes more known, that occupancy goes from 35-40% to 65-70%, and at 70%, your 4.5-5% with some incremental revenue is becoming 10.5-11% net yield to you.
And the capital appreciation that you anyways have.
Which is there. So you have the asset appreciation, you have the land appreciation, you have both.
Right.
In fact, some of the largest firms in the world, for example, Brookfield,
right,
has a phenomenally large business which they run in Canada, which is they own the underlying land and they allow people to build bungalows often lease it out. They share the income, and after 15, 20, 30 years, I don't know the exact period, the land reverts back to them. So the underlying appreciation of the land remains.
Yeah.
Here in India, you're also keeping the rental income with you, and the return you're making is quite phenomenal. And you can actually borrow from a bank.
Right.
And borrow at 7.5-8%. Your return is 10.2%. So you are actually having positive carry by building.
Carry. Yeah. Because your rental yield is so high, firstly.
Yeah.
Plus, you'll take out the investment cost anyways in I think a decade max with the land and the construction.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Now, post-COVID, the buyer interest kind of really changed. What the buyer wanted really changed, right? Everyone wanted bigger spaces, which wasn't possible in cities because the price per square foot is so expensive in major cities, right? People wanted nature, wanted greenery, and that's why the whole holiday home concept kind of really, went ballistic, if that's the right word to use, right? Do you think that is rather just a temporary cycle, or is that need now become a permanent want in a consumer's mind?
So Mayank, I think it's also part of the Indian economic cycle where we are. So maybe 5-7 years ago, we were not doing as well as a country as we are doing today. And if you think globally, I think people have started, they spend, not just today, if you go back to the US probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you'd have heard that people leave on every weekend and spend time out.
Right.
And the same is there for almost every developed country in the world. So I think it's an innate need as you move up the economic cycle that you're able to spend more time back in nature, more time together as a family, more time with people closer to you.
Right.
And for that, holiday homes are the norm. And I think the Indian economic cycle is just seeing the beginning of what I would call the holiday home boom. You will see a lot more people participating in this over the next 10 years.
Yeah, because what I'm seeing now is like earlier people, if they had one first home in Mumbai, they would still buy a second first home in Mumbai. Now people, if they have one home, they want a second home now, like a holiday home now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Changed.
The Indian psyche, the Indian economics cycle is enabling the psyche to change in a big way. And if you see everywhere, wherever it is coming to the use of disposable income, it's getting used up in places which is enhancing the quality of your life.
Right. Because earlier it was just so aspirational. People think it's only meant for centimillionaires or billionaires, farmhouse concept. Now everyone wants a villa and they know it's achievable.
Yeah, this is what's happening in Alibag, right? So Alibag probably, if you go back, say even in 2021, you probably need to have 30-35 crore rupees in your pocket if you want to buy a villa in Alibag. And you need to build it from ground up.
True.
Today you can buy a grade A villa in a good development in Alibag at 5 to 6 crore rupees, maybe 8.
Right.
And have it fully serviced.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
And which is why a lot more people are participating there than they were doing it before. I just think the entire democratization of second homes market in India is taking place as we speak, and it will see phenomenal move in the next 10 years.
Right. I've had a great time talking to you, and what I really liked was I didn't get generic answers. We got specific kind of answers for people who want to kind of invest in land, for younger developers who want to kind of get into the business. Right. Before we sign off, I just want to ask you one final question: is what are your targets for this year?
So I think,
or just future growth plans even.
No, I think HOABL, we believe that we would like to cross 10,000 crores in revenue by 2030, 2031. We believe at 30% compounding growth, we should be able to get there. We see a large move in both our horizontal and our vertical business in the next 12 to 24 months of time. And I think, maybe when we talk again in a couple of years' time, I'll have more stories to tell.
Would love to, and would love to also check out your hospitality angle to it.
Please do. Please do.
AI, tech, hospitality, these things were very refreshing, and I think you guys have done a phenomenal job. And also, you have a private equity firm, right? Tomorrow Capital.
Yeah.
Your experience as a part of private equity firm, has that made you a little bit more progressive? How does that help you in real estate?
It's definitely opened up my mind. I think the 20 to 35-year-old Indian today is so gifted, has such a phenomenal ability to take risk and desire to innovate, that just talking to them and interacting with them really changes your mind. And I think Tomorrow Capital, that way, we are very focused on healthcare and education, and we see some of the best minds come and speak. They're able to interact, and their focus on the use of technology to build scale from an early stage in the business. I think we've really gained a lot from that in our real estate business.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
I had
you,
a great time.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.